While we've been on air, the latest employment stats have broken from the Office for National Statistics. 75.5% for July to September, largely unchanged on the previous quarter and 1.1 percentage points lower than before the coronavirus pandemic. We can speak now to economist Jack Kennedy, who joins us now. Jack, what do you make of these figures?
Yeah, the labour market remains incredibly tight. We have seen a little bit of signs of softening in the latest figures. Vacancies coming down just slightly in the latest 3-month period, but remaining close to record highs. The unemployment rate ticking up just slightly from 3.5% to 3.6%. But certainly the labour market does remain extremely tight for the time being.
And what does that mean in terms of employers, in terms of sectors? I mean, who's really struggling at the moment?
Yeah, so it means that hiring conditions are challenging, really, across a range of sectors, particularly a number of lower-paid sectors that have really seen the strongest rebound in vacancies from the pandemic. Certainly the distribution sector, retail, manufacturing, construction and hospitality are certainly continuing to find recruitment conditions pretty challenging.
Yeah, and particularly the hospitality industry, would you say, out of most of them?
Yeah, hospitality is certainly one of the ones that's been finding it difficult. I think one of the key things that we've really seen in the labour market is this elevated rate of inactivity. We've seen a lot of workers dropping out of active participation in the labour market, and that's continuing to fuel a lot of these hiring challenges. We see in the latest ONS data today that inactivity rate continues to be elevated. Certainly long-term sickness rates and the withdrawal of older workers from the labour market continues to be quite a distinguishing feature that's contributing to these hiring challenges.
Yeah, the Great Resignation, as it's called, and the Chancellor Jeremy Hunt talking about that over the weekend. 600,000 people absent from the labour market in the post-COVID world. How do we entice those people back into the workplace, or are they never going to come back?
They need some support, I think. A lot of these people, particularly people that aren't participating because of long-term sickness, they may need some adjustment from employers as well as support from policymakers. Usually when we've seen older workers dropping out of the labour market, few of them do tend to return. So once people have retired, we don't see many people coming back into the labour market. Clearly, we are in a cost of living crisis, and a lot of those financial pressures that we're seeing at the moment could be a factor drawing some of those people back in. But a lot of those older workers that aren't working anymore are less exposed to rising mortgage rates. More of them own their homes outright. So it really kind of remains to be seen the extent to which that's much of a factor.
I think there's something like 6 million people on out-of-work benefits, and many of those, of course, things with injuries or disabilities. But a proportion of those, the government have to try and target, don't they, to try and get them back into employment. I was reading over the weekend around 1 million could be reabsorbed back into the workforce. I mean, how does the government tackle that? I mean, that, again, has it got to be incentives?
It does, yeah, and they need support as well as incentives. They need help sort of finding work in acquiring skills, upskilling, reskilling to get back into work. Because it's certainly a factor that's really starting to hold back the UK economy at the moment, and it's really quite a constraint on growth because so many companies, so many employers are struggling to fill these staffing gaps, and it's really putting quite a big brake on economic growth at the moment.
And just very quickly, the number of employees decreased in these latest figures. Self-employed workers increased, so there's going to be implications there. Why do you think that is?
I mean, we've seen a lot of people reappraising their choices during the pandemic and what they want out of work. So some people have been choosing to do new things. So we have seen more people leaving stable careers and trying something new, starting up a business. So that may well be part of that.
Yeah, potentially part of the gig economy. Jack, thanks for your thoughts this morning. Really appreciate it. Thank you.